This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Canine Crew, it's time to just sell the damn thing. Doberman Dan is revealing his contrarian formula for getting a rush of new customers, building your business faster, and making the highest possible profits. Go to justsellthedamnthing.com to get your copy today.
Prepare yourself for the uncensored, nothing held back, no BS reality of how business and life really work. Doberman Dan is off the chain.
I often wonder if the cracks and pops when we're recording, and I'm not talking about microphone issues, I'm talking about the cracking and popping sound that emanates from various body parts of mine. I wonder if that comes through on the recording, or do your audio engineers edit that out?
I am going to have to ask them to emphasize them so they know how rickety and old you are. So they respect what you say more because you're ancient.
Oh, I see. Well, then leave the cracking and popping it in. Like I just popped my neck and before I hit the record button, I popped both shoulders and it was pretty loud. And that got me to thinking, I wonder if that comes through. I wonder if people hear that. We shall see, right?
Now I'm going to be listening for it really intently.
Hey, I had an interesting conversation just yesterday.
No way.
With a buddy of mine, fellow marketer, entrepreneur, copywriter, named Sir Caleb of Osborne. He's one of the knights of my marketing Camelot. But before I even had a marketing Camelot, he was a friend of mine. We met 2004, 2005, when I spoke at Gary Halbert's Root Canal Seminar in Orlando. And I think Caleb, I'm talking about Caleb Osborne, I think he was like only 18 at the time and had just discovered direct response marketing, copywriting, and Halbert. And we've developed a friendship and we've worked on several businesses and projects together. And so, yesterday we're chewing the fat, so to speak, sharing notes with each other. And we had an interesting conversation about money. So I told him about copywriter, marketer I know who has a business with 3 other partners, and each partner, so 4 partners, they're pulling out for themselves in their salary, profit share, whatever you want to call it. Each one of them is pulling out $1 million a month.
Is that all?
And I'm like, I guess you can live on that if you're really diligent with washing your money.
If you shop at Walmart.
And then he's telling me about this other dude who started out as a freelance copywriter, and then he launched his own biz in the health niche, and now he did this seminar that Caleb went to and was attended by, I forget how many people he said. I think it was almost 20, or maybe it was 20. And the dude charged $25,000 for his 2-day seminar. And my reaction was like, I want, why didn't by the way, this guy who threw the seminar is a relative newbie. I mean, definitely compared to how many years I got in this thing, the kid's a rookie, and he's charging and getting $25,000 for a 2-day seminar. And I'm thinking like back to all the stuff I've done that I've undercharged for. And I kept wondering, why does this seem to be such a widespread issue? This thing of undercharging for what you do. Like, instead of looking at the value of things and the return on investment and charging according to that, why do you think so many service providers or just businesses in general often undercharge? And it's like, well, hey, in my market, this is the accepted norm, so that's what I'm going to charge, or a little bit less. Why do you think that is?
Lacking self-confidence, no belief in your process, limiting beliefs, shitty upbringing. You want me to keep naming all the things I've leaned on in the past?
Yeah, well, now you're hitting on all the points I used also. And use, I say that like it's in the past.
Yeah.
I've dealt with this all the time. Instead of thinking like, holy crap, this this could produce this enormous amount of ROI, the old poverty mindset slips back into, gee, that sounds like a lot that I'm going to charge. Will he really pay that? You know, all the things you mentioned, definitely a self-image thing. Could be some weird quasi-religious thing, you know, where you were taught money is evil or something like that. Could be the government-funded youth indoctrination camp brainwashing you were subjected to for 13 years, unless you were lucky enough to be homeschooled. I don't think it's any better in private school than the government-funded youth indoctrination camp. Do you? Isn't it all the same curriculum?
It's funny that you bring this up today, because before we recorded, I was in court. I had an eviction, and I got no hard feelings. I never fight with the residents or anything. It's all respect. And so we came to an agreement before the judge even came into the room. But we had time to talk because we didn't have the case. And he was telling me he's written 3 books, and I'm like, why haven't you published them yet? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's hard. And I'm like, oh, Kindle Direct, bro. Real easy. You can get it published and put it out there. He's like, well, you know what my real worry is? That right now I'm paying child support, and it's based on your income. And if I just publish this book and start selling books, I'm going to have to pay more. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? If you make more no matter what, even if you're paying half of it out. So what kind of weird limiting belief shit are people programmed with? That's a perfect example.
I don't understand that mindset. You know, even when I was still a broke, brainwashed sheeple in a hypnotized dream state, even back then, I didn't understand that mindset.
Is that crazy?
Because I heard that from the cops I worked with. Well, you know, I'm not going to take that overtime assignment because, you know, if I make more money, my alimony goes up. My alimony to my 3 ex-wives goes up. You know, never understood that, even when I was still, you know, before I woke up. But, you know, I think the thing is, like, the system, the world system. When I first started waking up, I used to think it was just the U.S. Now I can see it's everywhere. I mean, isn't this what the world system is really about? I mean, it's about. So this is a bigger issue. It's a bigger issue than not charging enough for your thing that you do and having money issues like that. I mean, isn't it about the death of the individual? I mean, the system is about the
ding, ding, ding.
The system was created. Yeah. I mean, the whole purpose of the system is to kill the individual. Yes. I mean, to erode, whatever you want to call it, take away your individual sovereignty and to re-educate the whole freaking population and to just turn them into nameless, faceless slaves. You are
collective.
You know, exactly. You are just the nameless, faceless collective. You got a number, man. You were assigned a slave number.
Human resource. In the US,
we call it the Social Security number. A human resource. I mean, so the system, I was going to say teaches us. That's not what it does. Indoctrinates us. Whatever, brainwashes us.
It's like Inception. I don't know. It really, it's not actually adding. So it chisels you away. That's what it really is shaping you to be nothing.
That's a perfect description and analogy. Chiseling the real you away. Because the whole system is conditioned to teach you to approach life as a work-producing sheeple, a nameless, faceless sheeple. Well, you know, so like, geez, you know, I'm going to go into this business, and sheeple number 963, they work 15 hours a day doing this, so I'm going to have to, you know, do that or exceed that. And wait a minute, over here I see that sheeple 735 hasn't taken a vacation in 12 years, so there's no way I can take Fridays off and keep up. I'm going to fall behind. Or, you know, sheeple number 69, dude, movie reference, you know, charges X, so I can't charge more than that. Finally, I'm going to charge a little less so I can compete with him. You know, or sheeple number 691 charges by the hour, so I certainly can't charge a flat fee. Like this sheeple thinking, it's everywhere because that is the thinking like necessary to control people. I mean, if you think you're special or you know you're special,
yeah,
you're not so easy to control, are you?
You might put up a fight.
Yeah, you might. I mean, so hey, you're not special. You got D's in most of your classes in high school. Hey, your SAT scores, compared to all the other sheeple teenager, they were horrible. Your credit scores sucks, man. You've had a negative balance in your checking account 40 times this year.
Ouch.
So, you're not special. You're just a nameless, faceless sheeple or a sheeple in the making if they haven't destroyed you yet. I mean, you see how this works? It's like the system. It's so much of a deeper issue of why people aren't charging enough. I mean,
yeah,
the government-funded youth indoctrination camp, that is all about teaching you to know your place. I mean, done in subtle and not so subtle ways, don't stick out. Don't be unique, because if you do, you're going to be ostracized. And the whole system is designed to program you to constantly check your internal impulses against the collective. Now, wait a minute. That doesn't jive with the collective. I will be ostracized and criticized and knocked down a peg if I do that. I mean, nothing about that is about life skills or teaching you anything. It's all about indoctrination and mind control, right?
Dude, it makes me nervous. I'm worried about sending our kid to school because of that. That whole thing where they're going to teach him to stay within the line and follow the rules and don't stand out and don't think. Like, that worries the shit out of me. And I'm having some difficulty with it right now.
The conditioning goes deep, man. That's what plays, I was going to say, a big role, probably the biggest role in your ability to charge what you want to charge, to reap the rewards for sharing who you are as a person with the world, for sharing your gifts with the world. If you've been conditioned that you're just a sheeple and you gotta color within the lines of the collective, well, now that affects your business and your income in a big way. And, and this was part of the conversation I had with Caleb Osborne. We're like, holy shit, man. I mean, my initial reaction was, this dude is a rookie. Compared to me, this guy is a total neophyte, but yet, here he's getting $25,000 for a 2-day event. And Caleb's point was, you know what? So I think the biggest aspect of that is he just decided what he wanted and he asked for it.
Boom.
Then there's the pragmatic aspect of it too, and that he didn't attract back up. I was going to say something that when I heard it in my head when it came out of my mouth was not going to be edifying. So back up. He attracted, for a lot of reasons, his mindset being the number one reason, and then the mindset affected his positioning. He attracted people who could pay $25,000 or more for a 2-day event, because then he upsold them into I think a $36,000 mastermind.
Nice.
So here's my takeaway from this conversation I had yesterday with Caleb and my mentally percolating on it over the past 24 hours. Listen up. This applies directly to you, my dear listener, my dear entrepreneur, my dear service provider, my dear artist, musician, athlete, fellow citizen of the universe. The laws of the sheeple don't apply to beings like you. They don't apply unless you start acting like the sheeple, unless you start acting like the system has conditioned you to act. Let's back that up. Instead of acting, let's change that word to thinking. Unless you think like the sheeple, unless you make the decision to think like the system pressures you to think, like you've been indoctrinated to think your entire life. So you got to step back and think, is that how you want to think? Therefore, do you want to reap the rewards of that? Like, maybe it's time to give that up. Maybe it's time to say to yourself, to accept the fact that you actually really are special and then act like it. And as you hear me saying this, something in your heart, gut, mind, nervous system, whatever, is resonating with this because you know it's the truth. Even if you have acted to the contrary, you know what I'm saying is true. Now, this kind of stuff makes the sheeple really uncomfortable because and when they hear this stuff, but even worse, when you start living it, when you start living this truth, it is a truth. And your heart just confirmed that as you heard me saying that. When they see you living that, well, that they don't like that. I mean, they feel better when nobody's winning, man. I mean, that way they don't have to endure the self-scrutiny and discomfort that comes from that. If they would choose to work to be the best version of themselves. So don't blame them, when the crabs try to drag you back down to the bucket. It ain't their fault. It's how they were trained. Actually, strike trained. It's how they were brainwashed, indoctrinated. They've been, I say they, we've been manipulated emotionally, and the truth just screwed up so much, and that like up is down and down is up. That's what you've been conditioned to believe, myself included, all of us. But like in my case, something happened, something like ding, snapped inside, and I started waking up. So this all goes back to the initial title. That's about why you're not making enough money. If you want to charge like you're a sheeple, go right ahead. But when you do that, know this. You are living someone else's program for you. You are responding to a program indoctrinated into you by someone else. You didn't make it up. You didn't come up with it. It's not your choice. You're basically like operating on these autopilot subconscious programs programmed into you. And it was like programmed into you with the hope, and actually not hope because they know how well it works, with the expectation you just swallow it whole. You wouldn't even question it, wouldn't even look at it a second time, and you would let that become your reality. So think about that. When you live that reality, you've seen the results of that. And so, I think that's like the 30,000 feet from above reason, right, Jonathan? And all the subsets of that you and I mentioned at the beginning, self-image, are all a result of this 30,000 feet from above thing. You are living someone else's program.
Dude, it's like you just described the Matrix. Called our listeners the one, told them to snap out of it. I love it. I love it, man. What do you have coming up for us next time?
I did not realize that until you mentioned it. So
I'm sitting here smiling. Wake up, take funny. The red pill, bitches.
No doubt, man. So that's your homework for this week. Go watch The Matrix after listening to this podcast. You asked what's up for next week. Let's do a cliffhanger ending. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to entitle next week's show, Your First Key to Getting Rich is...
Dum, dum, dum.
Cliffhanger music.
Tune in next week for the answer. All right. Another Off the Chain show is in the can. Back in your earbuds next time, boys and girls. K9 crew, before you run off, I want to remind you, Doberman Dan has set up an Off the Chain hotline. Call in, tell us you love us. It's even better if you tell us you hate us. It doesn't matter what you say. All you have to do is call in, leave a message. The number is 321-424-6043. Again, Off the Chain hotline, 321-424-6043.
This is the podcastfactory.com.